thanks so much for joining me. Today I'm ranking my Hermes eyeshadow palettes. I have all of them right now, including the limited edition one that recently was released. I am wearing also an Hermes wrap, if you're wondering. It does have like an Hermes logo on it, which is maybe not my favorite part of it. If it didn't have the logo, I actually would wear it more. And it's coming across as a little bit more vibrant than, I mean, it's more like actually that blue jean blue back there on the Bolide. And then also is maybe closer to the blue on the Twilly back there. But as you can see, I love Hermes. I love the quality, I love the effortlessly elegant, also relaxed feel. I love that they focus on quality. It seems like they are one of the luxury houses that continues to focus on quality. And I love especially their items are really designed and created to last a lifetime. This bag is decades old. This is a Noir bag that I picked up in the boutique, but knowing how this Clemence leather is, which is the same leather as this, it has aged really well. It's still got a really nice softness about it. It's a little bit slouchy at this point. I love that it's got a lived-in look to it, which is why I'm really interested in collecting pre-loved Hermes. That's one of my favorite things to do, is just to look and see what bags are out there, what pre-loved bags are out there. And maybe one day I will be able to get a Kelly. That is my one bag I would love to get new. Otherwise, pre-loved I really enjoy because I don't have to be so careful with them because they are not in perfect condition. But this is not about Hermes bags, but I do love Hermes in general, and I love their eyeshadow palettes. So if you love their makeup, you probably love Hermes in general. Everything I've purchased from them, from something like this to shoes that I have by Hermes, they're all really well made. And the shoes actually are one of my most comfortable, and it's a heel. I really appreciate that Hermes thinks about the user end of their product. I feel like the makeup also really reflects their aesthetic and also the end user experience. So we're gonna start with, I guess, my least favorite, because I'm going to go in ranking from what I feel is the most useful and also the most unique. So the criteria around my favorite palette versus my least favorite palette, we're going to be addressing usability, like how easy is it for me to use and how often I use it, and kind of what reflects my personality and also my skin tone, because there's a lot that has to do with that. So let's start with my least favorite. It is the one I used most recently, but I know some of you really love this. And I think there's a certain aesthetic that this would work with. This is the number, let me just look on the back. Okay, this is the number 6, and this one has an interesting composition that the other ones I noticed did not have. So you've got these shades right here, which are more matte shades. And then you have these two shades up here. It says a golden horizon illuminated with delicate bronze accents that echo the radiant embers of autumn's warmth. So it is a great autumn palette. Brown shade that's kind of a cool shade, which I tried on my brows. I wouldn't use it as a brow product compared to other brow products I have, but in a pinch I would use that. And then this beautiful fall shade, it's like a burgundy, but here you've got two shimmery shades. So there isn't really a satin shade, which I like to put all over the lid. So it was a little tricky for me to use, but I can see layering this if you want a really intense eye, and then layering the shimmery shades on top, I think would be really beautiful. But that's not my specific aesthetic. It's a little bit too much for me, but if you like this color story, if you like a little bit more makeup and you don't mind the shimmery shade, some of you let me know adding these bronzy shades and the shimmery shade on top of either a primer or something more matte helped to keep it in place, because I did a wear test, not on this specifically, but I was doing a wear test on a foundation product and this had creased after a day of wear. So that's one of the reasons why this is my least favorite one, but still beautiful. One of the other things about these palettes, it says on the Hermes site that these quartets are composed of 98% natural ingredients. The powder contains silky emollients and oils, ensuring effortless application and long-lasting natural finish. And that's what I noticed about these palettes. They are like a next generation kind of formulation where they are very silky and creamy going on. Really beautiful. And out of all of these, I have not found a patchy matte shade, which is really difficult. So mattes that are very intense, like the deeper shades, can, if not done well, be patchy, and I have not found that with these palettes, so that's a really great thing. Soft and light texture can be easily blended, which is accurate. Using a finger or brush, allowing you to achieve your desired level of intensity. In each palette, the various finishes draw inspiration from the silk métier. The matte finish evokes the essence of silk chiffon. The satin finish mirrors the allure of silk twill, and the shimmering finish is reminiscent of silk lame. And these are refillable, so I have a few cases, and then I have some that are sitting out here as refills. And actually, I also discovered that the individual little circles or squares can also be popped out. So I guess I could rearrange them into an ideal palette that would be perfect. As I go through this, you'll see that there are certain shades that I love in each one. For the next least favorite, or getting closer to my favorite, we've got here number 2. This is the green palette. It's called Ombre Vegetale. Now this one I thought I'd use more often because I love green shades. However, I have not pulled for it as much as I thought I would. But like I said, I just find that it's not one that I pull for, but I really do want to, but I have not found myself pulling for it. So maybe I'll have to leave this out and maybe try this more towards the holiday season and see if I will use it. But so far I haven't used it as much. How many do I have here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I have 7 palettes here. Number 5 is this one here. This one is the what I call the blue palette. This is number 4, Ombre Marine. And this is one that you think I would wear, or I thought I would wear more often, and it really is beautiful. So I think it looks like a blue palette, but when you do this, it doesn't look that blue anymore. It's really these pops, like in that green one too, where it's like more vibrant color, that really makes it stand out as either a blue palette or a green palette. It is a pretty shade, but you really have to love this color, I think, to get the most out of it. But these 3 are really pretty together. This brownish shade, the deepest blue, and then this lovely shimmery color is pretty. But again, not one that I pull for as much as I thought I would. But they are pretty if you want colors. So both the green and the blue palettes, I think, are very wearable, especially if you like color without buying like a really large palette. I know sometimes the only way to find colors like that is to buy a really large palette, and I don't love palettes that have too many choices. I really prefer them to be more curated like this. Okay, the next one, number 4, as we move closer to my favorite palette, this one might be surprising that it wasn't further towards the end because I don't love warm colors. And to me, this initially looks warm. This one right here, and this one is Ombre Fauve. And this one has like an orange shade. And usually I will steer away from colors like this, like orangey shades. If you cover this up, you can see that it is neutral. And then this does have a bit of warmth in it, the deeper shade in there. But I do really love the more shimmery shade in here. It's beautiful. It's a nice way to brighten the eye. Some of you had some suggestions about using the orange shade, and then there's a pink shade you'll see in a minute as a cheek color, which I've tried. I wouldn't plan on a blush, like I wouldn't take that as my only blush, but if I was in a situation where I forgot my blush, I would definitely use this as a blush. But this is a really pretty one with I think this mocha shade is my favorite color in there. I used a little of that on my eye look today. I used that all over the lid. Then we've got this one, number 11. So this is my, in the ranking, we only have 3 to go. So this is my 3rd favorite. We could see it that way. But this one doesn't look like really usable. I don't think it looks super usable because it looks like there are so many colors in there that maybe don't work together. But this shade, I was looking for something that was going to brighten, like a little bit of a glow, and this one right here really does a beautiful job of that. This is really versatile. It'll work with warm shades, cool shades for me. There's a bit of a blush tone in there, but it's very subtle, like a champagne almost. It's really beautiful. This blue here I used as an eyeliner. This one, compared to even this blue, let's look at the blues together. You can see that the blue in the 11 palette, Ombre Minerale, is a little bit different than the one in the other blue palette I showed you. This one's much deeper. This one has more of a bluish color to it. But yeah, you can see they're not exactly the same if you're wondering about these. So this one to me I've used more because of this shimmery shade. So this shimmery shade here too is more like of a pink shade versus this, which is more of a champagne. So that's why I've used this one more often. And then this one, I mentioned it before, this reminds me of the gold shade in the Hermes leather. It has that kind of tone to it. It's really pretty. Now I don't use the green shade with this when I do use it, but I will use these separately. So again, as an eyeliner and as a highlight color for the middle of my eye. So out of all of the palettes, actually, this is the one that I think is the most versatile, that works with any palette, whether it's an Hermes palette that I'm pairing with or a Chanel palette or some other kind of eye. I'll take this to brighten and this as an eyeliner. So I think that's really pretty. So if you wanted this limited edition palette, these are the two shades that I use the most. Then you might be surprised that this is not the #1 palette, because I love neutrals. I really do love a good neutral palette. This one is the shade 05, Ombre Fumé. So this one you would think would be my favorite because I love cool palettes. I have warm toned skin. Warm tones, and the reason I talked about that earlier is warm tones can get lost on my skin because sometimes they're just the same color as my skin and then you can't see anything. So I do want to see a little bit of makeup, not a makeup-y look, but I do want to be able to see it. So this one is the coolest one that's a neutral tone. It's not blue or green, but just neutrals. Now the reason though this is not #1 is because this shade right here, or the shade that I would put on all over my lid, which would be this one, isn't as light as I would want it to be. I'd want it to be like a lighter satiny shade. We do have this shimmer shade, but it's got a silvery tone to it, which is really beautiful, but I wouldn't put this all over my lid. It's a little too sparkly for me. I would want something more neutral. So that's why I went in with this shade from the 03 palette. I went in with this satiny shade all over my lid because this one in this palette is too deep. I mean, you can't really tell from there, but it is. It's deeper than that satin shade. And then this one is more of a matte anyway in this 05. It's got more of a matte finish to it. So I like to have a little bit of satin on my lids, and then I like to take a matte and put that in the crease, or even something with a satin finish also in the crease. So if it's matte, I would really like it to be lighter than this. So that's why this one is not at the top. But I did use this in the corner here. Actually, I used maybe 4 palettes. So if you want to see this look, go to the Get Ready With Me, which we'll be posting in the future. But I have mostly Hermes products on, from the Plein on the face, to their powder, to their blush, and a lip from Hermes also. Very effortlessly casual, yet elegant look, which is very consistent with Hermes. Like I said, these bags here are very effortlessly casual, yet still elegant. I love that. So I wanted my makeup to mirror how I feel about these bags. But that's why this one is not #1. So if this had a lighter shade in it, maybe if this was a satin shade that wasn't silver, then this would be the first one. And then you might be surprised what is the first one, because I end up using this one the most. It has a cool tone to it, and I feel like it's really versatile even though it has color to it, because the color is not that apparent, but there is definitely color, and I think it's a little bit unique. It's different than other shadows out there, so I really like that, because as much as I like a neutral, I don't need things duplicated. I want to be able to have a little bit of something unique there. So this is the one that I picked as my #1 palette, and it does have the most use too, so I definitely use it more than the other ones. A couple of shades in particular though, this is the #1, and the reason why I think you might be surprised is because of that pink. Like, I don't love pink on my eyes, so I actually don't use that. So out of all the palettes, there isn't one where I use all 4 shades, and that's why I feel like there isn't the perfect palette here. But knowing that I can pop these out, like there are little holes there that you can pop out these singles, and you could essentially put your own together if you had the right shapes to go in there. Like a combination of 2 circles and 2 squares is possible to do that, but I don't know if I'm gonna go that far to do that, but this one is the one that I picked as my #1. So I love this. It's got a beautiful like lilac shade to it, which does tend to be on the cool side. And then this beautiful shade is like a dark plum almost, one that you can't really determine what the color is. It's just really flattering in the eye. And I think that's maybe what I love the most about this. This is really flattering on the eye, but you can't really even tell what the exact color is of this. I've done looks with each one of these, so I'll post it. I can't remember my impressions of each one of these as I tried them at this point, but this is after months of being able to use them and see which ones I pull for the most. Sometimes after time goes by, my priorities and my preferences change based on really what I'm looking for in other makeup that I have. So I do pull for this one because I don't think I have anything else quite like this palette. And I think that that's what Hermes did really well here, is that their palettes don't look like other palettes, but out of all the palettes I have that are cool and neutral-ish, just a hint of something different, this palette fulfills that. And I have used this as a blush as suggested by you, because you said, why don't you use that as a blush? So I have used it. Again, it's not something I would take as a blush product because it's a little bit tricky to actually get in there because it's smaller. This pan is a little bit small, but let's take a little bit of blush. Let's take a little bit of it and let's do it as a pop of color so we can see what that looks like. So I do have Hermes blushes on right now, or one Hermes blush right now. And so we're just gonna do a little pop of color with this and just enhance. So out of all of these, I would use all of these colors, but not on my eyes. I would use this on my cheeks. I do hope that was helpful. I love Hermes eyeshadows. They are next generation in my experience with how silky they are, how beautifully the mattes blend and some of the deeper colors, and even their shimmery colors. There's nothing in there that's glittery, so I love that there isn't anything there I wouldn't use. I prefer their lighter satin shades, and then their deeper matte shades are really beautiful. And then the more shimmery shades I don't use as much unless I want to highlight something. Oh yeah, and I forgot to mention, if you like the nail polish, this is Hermes Nail, my favorite nail polish in 01. If you were curious about their nail polishes, I love them, both the color and also the top coat. But I'd love to know, what are your favorite Hermes palettes? Have you tried all of them? I'd love to know how you rank them. Let me know in the comments section below, and let me know if you have any questions. I'd be happy to answer them. And I hope this swatches were helpful. Oh yeah, and make sure to tune into the Get Ready With Me when that posts. It'll probably be a couple videos from now, but I will post that in the near future. But that is it for today's video, so please take care of each other, stay well if you enjoyed this video. If you learned something, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and I will see you next time. Finishes draw inspiration from the in each. That just fell out.